have attendees for presentations, although I thought we were starting with budget stuff because we only have you, Kristen, for 30 minutes.
Yes, I asked them to come at 7. I think we just have them a little bit
That's
early.
fine. That's fine. I mean, I attend meetings before my time slot sometimes too. Because we only have you, Kristen, for 30 minutes.
Yes, I asked them to come.
Yep. Kristen's working on some feedback issues, I see. Like waiting for things to. I'm waiting for my clock to say 6:45.
6:46. We need to wait till 6:46.
We have to wait till 6:46.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait till 6:46.
46. We need to wait till 6:46.
We have to wait till 6:46.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that doing that?
Did that fix the problem or am I still getting feedback?
I think it's me with the feedback. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to hear.
6:46.
Oh, I think it's the YouTube that's going on my computer. I'm still getting feedback.
Yeah, because when Kristen stops, I don't hear. If Kristen mutes, I don't hear it anymore. It'll be fun to always hear our voices 30 seconds after we say it.
Hey, it's literally been dead quiet at the hotel all day long, and now there are like 100 people going by the window here.
Of course.
Yay. That's how it works. That's okay. The cat has finally decided that I'm not going to give him attention. He's left the room. So I have one less distraction.
Okay, did that fix it?
Well,
It
we'll know
seems
in a
better.
moment.
Okay. Yeah, the YouTube
But it's-
volume was up, so it was playing the YouTube
Yep.
through the Zoom. So
It's 6:46. Let's call the Berlin Select Board meeting together for Wednesday, February 25th. This will get all exciting with all the different wrong words on things. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We do only have Kristen with us for a little bit because she has to run off to FinCom. So I was going to sort of jump directly to the budget and a chance to ask questions on the TA recommendations. I was going to take it sort of a little bit like we do sort of town meeting in some respects, although it looks like I have the wrong version of the budget up, but I'll fix that. Where we just sort of go section by section as opposed to line by line, Chris, because if you had to describe everything in every line, we wouldn't even get through 100s. And so sadly, I'll figure out how to do this.
Scott, there's one thing I might be able to do. I might be
Yeah.
able to pause at 7:15, run over and set up FinCom, and then come back. So if you have something you can take up during that time and that works for
Yeah,
you, we can
we
do
have
that as well.
several presentations on the agenda and other stuff that I think we can do.
Okay.
And so in the 100 general government area, are there sort of questions or comments people have about any of the line items? Peg or Lisa? I would like to suggest that lines I don't quibble with the dollar amount. I would love to combine lines 24 and 25, town clerk salary and town clerk part-time wages, into one line. So a new clerk could decide how many hours they work versus an assistant works, and determine sort of the best allocation of those dollars.
So kind of like how we do fire EMS wages full-time
Yep.
and part-time. So
Yep.
we'd have to make kind of a new line for that then and get rid of, I think, the salary line. I'd have to confirm that with June, but I believe that's how we did it for fire. And
Yeah, so if there's a logistical change that has to be made to make it clearer, that's fine. The dollar amount is fine. It is just I think it gives an incoming clerk some more flexibility about whether or not they work fewer or more hours versus the assistant. And I would love to be able to give them that. Other than that, I don't really have any problems with anything in 100. Is there a motion to accept the TA recommendation for section 100, general government?
So moved.
And seconded.
These are going to be roll call votes because we're on a Zoom meeting. So all in favor, Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
The 200 section, go ahead.
Just, I'm curious, would it be easier if you put the budget up on the screen? If you
Um,
shared screen?
I can try to do that, but then I can't work
not.
it at the
Yeah, let
same
me share. Let me
time.
share.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I just have to make sure that it is.
Because I'm working in it, taking the notes of all the votes.
Oh, I got to change something on my screen before I do this. Hold on a second. I have my annotated copy, and I don't know if my annotated copy is what I really want to be sharing with everybody. Great, where'd everybody go? So the 200 section, which is the police, fire, which I think we've sort of already voted on salary and wages and expenses. So we haven't done police and fire already. So this is the rest of the piece.
Correct. Police and fire, you already voted. So the one caveat I would ask you to remove is line 47 at this time because a decision hasn't been made
Yep.
with the regards to the building inspector. Everything else in that section is ready to go.
I'd entertain a motion then for basically, since we've already done 41 through 46, a motion for what, 48 through 57, which is the rest of public safety minus the building inspector.
So moved.
Seconded.
Without other discussion, Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Let's see if I could do even this. That better?
Yep.
I wish there was a way to get my edit. Section 400 Public Works, which is highway, snow and ice, streetlights, transfer station, and cemetery. And then, Kristen, this represents the clarification you made for transfer station?
Yes, so my budget recommends level funding expenses at the transfer station not going up the 13,000 and also not going up $12,759 on the wages. I am recommending that the transfer station use their revolving funds for those approximately $25,000 worth of increases. In part because the conversation we had about adding more hours for the assistant was that those funds were for the transfer station work and those would come out of the revolving fund, but they wanted to include them in the budget this year. And I did already inform the chair, the assistant, and the head of the transfer station that was going to be my recommendation.
Did you get any pushback?
Questions?
I did not. But I can't tell you if I just didn't get it, or didn't receive feedback, or, you know, I understand kind of from the transfer station manager.
I'm fine with all the numbers. Other questions? There's a motion for section 400.
So moved.
Seconded.
Without a discussion, let's vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Human Services. You're not recommending, Kristen, the $38,000 the Board of Health is asked for the supplement?
I am actually recommending that that be done through special articles in the warrant as they are one-time expenses.
Okay.
So that's 30,000 for the landfill studies that Paul has discussed with us and $8,000 for the hazardous materials day. Those are both kind of one-off things. So I've crafted warrant articles for both.
Council on Aging wages part-time is a van driver?
Yes.
That's one van driver?
That is the total budget for the van, whether it's 1, 2, it's for the total number of hours allocated.
And given the recent resignation of the COA director, we'll just leave that line and then decide what to do with it?
It's really up to you. I got the sense from the board that there was desire to either reduce the full-time position and or remove the ban. So you probably want to have a larger discussion on the COA budget as to how you want to approach
Right.
that.
Right, because I sadly we won't have someone to give us that, but I don't see $35,000 of the benefit coming out of the van. Now, I didn't see it last year. We gave him a chance to hire and do things, but I don't note of, I've not heard of a volume of rides where just paying someone, paying someone's ride sharing cost for a few rides here and there wouldn't be less money and more convenient for the user. And so I would love to then, uh, I would gladly support everything else, and we'll have a further discussion on 73 to 75, sort of at an upcoming meeting. Probably that means on the 16th.
And I will give you this data I received from Melissa today, but quickly, they started in December. They're servicing 129 seniors through events, and I'm sorry, total of 129 seniors have been served through events and programs, with an additional 12 using the van. Since December, they provided 12 riders with 59 rides. 38 were for medical and dental appointments. 21 were for groceries, errands, or quote fun.
Right.
I would share
So
this.
$36,000 for 12 people.
Since December.
Right.
Which makes it even worse. So on the COA for the wages full-time, is that 40 hours full-time, or are
Yes.
we still looking at 24?
Nope, she's at 28. That position is now at 28, and that is budgeted at still level funded at 40. I feel that that's a full-time position, but that's why I left it there.
Well, the problem with 40 is that we had discussions in the past that we would look at incrementally moving it up based on data, based on programs and people coming. That was the caveat that I remembered, that it wasn't just an automatic 40, because if you remember before Melissa got here, it was only 19 and a half for Victoria. So I'm hesitant to make it a full-time position without the data. And I know that I was extremely clear with that many meetings ago for numbers. So, but I agree with Scott that the 73, 4, and 5 needs to put a pin in it until we can have a little bit deeper discussion on it.
Okay. Then
Oh,
how about we move to approve 500 without 73, 74, and 75?
sounds good to me.
Agreement?
That a motion and a second from Lisa Enbag.
Yes.
And so then I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Cultural and recreation.
I am
Uh,
making a recommendation that expenses are level funded and that the part-time position be eliminated. This will be the third budget cycle that it's in with an unfilled position.
That part-time position, is that the admin that the rec just got approved for?
Yep.
So how can you strike it out of a budget if you have ads that are out there and people who have applied?
I'm not recommending that we move forward with the position.
I'm gonna ask for a pin in that one too, because I respectfully disagree.
They also failed to show at FinCom, so I think they need to present their budget as well.
And so is that then motion for 600 minus lines 81 and 82?
So moved.
And seconded.
And I'm keeping some notes of these as well, so I'll add it to another agenda really quickly once we're done today. If there's not other discussions, then I think we might be ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Is there a motion for debt and interest? These are fixed numbers. We don't really have a lot of say over these.
No, unfortunately not. That's a debt schedule that's fixed.
Motion to approve the
Seconded.
700s.
Let's do then a vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Since Berlin, Boylston, and Assabet are about to present to FinCom, I don't believe that we should even sort of discuss them much right now.
No, you could vote CMRPC. That's a fixed cost. That's
Sure.
line 88.
Okay.
Is there a motion, Brady?
Motion to approve the CMRPC line item.
Seconded.
I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
We're actually doing well. I don't necessarily want to. Are there questions we want to give Kristen to bring potentially to FinCom that's about to get the presentation? Do we actually see the presentation? There might not be sort of giant.
The numbers
Question.
from the presentation are in this budget, so, and the presentations themselves are in the budget folder that you all should have access to.
And as I remember correctly, and as the warrant is beginning to be written, because I saw the draft as well, the vote on the floor is going to be for the total numbers that are bolded. That if we quibbled about even like Tahanto debt repayment, which would not be one to quibble about, but if we thought it was only 6,000, not 6,452, we don't have the ability to make that change. And so basically the vote is going to be an accept or reject at town meeting.
That is
Mhm.
correct. An accept or reject on the bottom line full number, which at this time is 10,194,610.
Yep.
So when they came a few, I don't know, last month or so, and it was at 11%, and we got the standard, oh, we're gonna sharpen our pencils, they've only managed to drop it 0.6%, but yet they're still sitting on money that they're not spending.
Yeah, and actually that drop came from capital. So that drop came from one-time funds. The actual operating budget went up slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I
And so
can
that's
give
going to
you
be
that
clearly our
number.
question. So we will
Yeah.
vote on our recommendation is, the details of how much is actually coming out of some of the one-time funds that they have found. And now that, deficit and excess and deficit has been certified, that's being done.
Right. So if you combine the Berlin Memorial assessment and the Tahanto assessment, which is the 5 million and the 4 million, you get $9,377,735. When the schools presented their initial figures, that combined total was $9,305,316. So it's about a $72,000 increase in the operating assessments, but it is a significant reduction in capital. However, as you know, the challenge with that is capital comes from free cash. Operating budget impacts the taxpayers.
So
Um,
I have a
sharpening your
question. Does this
pencil-
capital assessment still have the parking lot in it, or is that not in this one?
It does. It has three things in it. For Tahanto, it has just the parking lot. Everything else was pushed off. And for BMS, it has two items that total $25,000. So those items I can tell you really quick. And Anna's going to be here next week to give this to you. The exterior gym door replacement for $13,000 and the rooftop unit repairs for $12,000 plus the parking lot for
Okay.
that total of 234. I'm sorry, 259,540 total in capital.
Then the 900 section.
I have great news. Health insurance,
Yes.
5.22%. Thrilled. That is firm. We got the document from Maya. Jeff will be meeting with them. I don't think anything's going to change on that. It's extremely low compared to where we started at, which was 20%. I would be comfortable with you voting on all of the 900s if you so choose.
Yeah, I think 900s look fine. I'm always bummed that Worcester retirement goes up by way more than inflation or the 2.5 that we're allowed to go up and has for my 15 years of watching it, but it is what it is. So is there a motion for the 900 series?
Motion to approve the 900 series.
Second,
I think we're done with discussion. And so Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
And so that will leave us the Council on Aging, Rec, and Schools as the section that we will take up at the next couple of meetings.
And building inspector. And the reason that is,
Building inspectors.
if you guys decide to go regional, just so you know,
Right,
and
yep,
can
yep.
you make a note of this, Dee? That has to move down into the 800s.
Right.
Because it is now an intergovernmental expense.
Okay, I'm making that note as well. Kristen, if we could ask you to conveyed to FinCom tonight that the select board has, except for these four exceptions, has agreed with your sort of recommended budget. And so as they go through it, um, they're originally scheduled to present to us next week.
Mhm.
I've decided I don't know if that's a great use of time. They will barely have just heard our recommendations and not a chance to really respond to it because they're doing the school budgets tonight. And then we'll bring them back on either the 16th or 23rd if they have problems or not problem. If there are questions or areas where we still need to negotiate, which likely could be any one or all of the four remaining items. Great. I thank people for both coming prepared and Kristen for having a sort of good recommendation. I also think Kristen, at least from my standpoint, the explanation and going over some of the supplementals and the feelings about them and getting our feelings about them a month or so ago, I think made this part go faster because some of the ones you knew we weren't great on, and so they're not there, and some you knew we liked are there because they were there. So I thought that made this go well.
There is one last thing if I could point out,
Yep.
Scott, if you can flip to the FY27 summary tab. We are currently running a $692,041 deficit. That is much higher than it was before because the ASABIT numbers came in at much higher than expected because of minimum local contribution. This is a state issue. This is not something that is being chosen at the local level. I believe this is a conversation that should be had with our legislators. Because the initial ASABIT budget came in showing a $191,000 reduction. And now that has gone back up. It is still slightly lower than last year. But it is basically $16,590 less than it was last year instead of $191,000. So that clearly colors your budget process. I was going to make on the revenue side of the shop or the, expenditure side rather. I was going to make a recommendation that because you have $1 million in free cash, when we were closer down to 500,000, you need it. I was going to recommend you use it this year. You may have to use it next year. And unfortunately, when you look at FY29, particularly with the mall devaluation and where you're at, you are probably going to be in override land like almost every other city and town in the state. So I did just want to share that with you.
Yep. And we'll probably look at free cash a lot closer when we meet with capital planning next week.
Yep. And sorry, one last thing. If you want details on my recommendations, there is now a fourth tab that says TA Rec. And it tells you how I have offset the $120,000 in recommended increases. And I really sharpened and looked again at where we could go. But I did recommend $125,000 in decreases to offset that increased amount. The rest of the increases, I just believe are fixed costs. And that's, where we're at. And I went back and took a really long look at expenses too. And I was able to shave marginal amounts off a couple of expense areas that we didn't hit last year. And that was based on looking at 10 years of expense data. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you.
Any more questions to Kristen about budget stuff before she runs off to FinCom?
And I might recommend, Scott, because I can talk about the warrant when I come back, if you want to have the folks from CMRPC and ORS speak.
Sorry. Yeah, so I think we'll start with then presentations and just take them sort of in order at this point, right?
Perfect. And I will be back.
Okay, thank you. So presentation number one, we have Wheeler Pond Dam removal, one-stop grant discussion and vote. And I think Heather is here to talk about that. If Dee is around to promote. If Dee is not, oh, there we go. Okay. just heads up, Tim, you're my backup. So if like we can't promote somebody, you're just sitting right there and we'll call on you.
Hello.
Heather, welcome.
Thank you. Obviously, you can hear me. That was my first question.
Why don't yeah, take it away. Tell us about the Wheeler Pond Dam removal and the grant opportunity.
So we do have a presentation.
Great.
Am I able to share that?
Should be able to. What bottom center is share?
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Excellent. So thank you for having us here. At some point, you'll have to, I have two other people from the Regional Planning Agency, Central Mass Regional Planning Agency, that also would like to present. So I'm gonna do the first part of it and they'll do the second. Danny Marini King, if you can put her on as a panelist, that would be excellent. I don't know if you want to do that.
I'm not seeing that person.
Yeah. I see that
Trish
person.
Shettles,
Trish
Trish
Settles.
Settles is-
excellent. Do you want to do that first, or you want me to take it away? So I will take it away. So my name is Heather Conkerton. I am the Ecological Restoration Manager at ORS Three Rivers. We're the watershed organization for the Sudbury, Aspen, and Concord rivers. I'm sure you all know about the Wheeler Pond Dam. It's owned by the Buns and Oley Trust, and they've had it for I think about 20 years, or maybe. So they first approached our consultant, Interfluve. They are the engineering consultant. And then ORS came on after that, and they asked us to assist. So we're the project manager, and we're help driving this project forward. I know that the project or the dam itself has been an issue for the town of Berlin and has been identified as something that needs to be fixed because it is a significant level dam. So you can have high, significant, and low. It's a significant level dam in poor condition. So there's likely to be loss of property and potentially life if it were to fail. So I'm just going to give you a project team overview. So there's us, ORS Three Rivers Watershed Organization, and there's the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission. That would be Trish Shuttle. She will actually do the part of the presentation after me. They have 40 municipalities in southern Worcester County. And then again, our engineering consultant is Interfluve, which they've actually been on the project longer than us. They started in 2016. We started in 2022. So this is just a locus map to show you where the Wheeler Pond Dam project is. I don't know if can you see my pointer, my big pink pointer? Okay, awesome. So this is Pleasant Street, and this is the main dam, and this is kind of a secondary outlet. So we'll be removing this about 800 feet along here, and then part of the structure will also be removed. This is currently what the dam looks like. As you can see, it's crumbling and falling down. You can also see over here, like some of this is falling. Some of this has actually gotten worse since this photo was taken last year. And this is just a photo to show you what the impoundment looks like in the summer. So this is what it's going to convert to after the dam comes down. So Eco One Stop is a grant program at the state level. There's about 7 grants that you can apply to. So you can go into the system and it helps match you with the correct grant. What we're looking at is the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant. and also the dam and seawall grant. Here's the information on those two. So with dam removals can be upwards of 2-3 million or more dollars. The stage of the project that we're in, we're almost all the way through permitting. One of our very last steps is to go through cultural resources, and we need to actually have an evaluation done to make sure the dam is or is not on the National Historic Register. So right now the project does not quite have the funding for that. We're still going permitting wise, but we need a little extra funding to take care of that step. Once that step is done, that will be the state level step. Then we're a part of the I don't know if you know all the permitting parts of this, but in order to do a Section 404, which is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we have to have this evaluation for the dam being on the National Historic Register. A part of that is also Section 106, where you do cultural resources mitigation. So we will talk to consulting parties on what they'd like to see be a part of the mitigation. So what kind of, do we want to have a recreational area? Do we have signages? Do we want to see a piece of the dam? When all that is complete, that's a federal step, we can actually move completely through permitting, and what we would need funding for that and also construction. So we're pretty much to the funding or construction phase. This is why we want the MVP grant, so we can get that past that last hurdle. So we're thinking about applying to the MVP Action Grant and also the Dam and Seawall Grant. Now, we might also roll some other project improvements within the town of Berlin, like culvert upgrades or replacements into this. That's something else we're discussing, and that would be a separate grant. So there's potentially 3 grants we'll be applying to. And this is why we're coming to the select board, because we would like permission to move ahead with doing these grants at the town level. So now I'm going to hand it off to Trish Settle so that she can explain how all this will work.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everybody, for having us here today. My name is Trish Settles. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of Regional Collaboration and Community Planning. I've met many of you before in other projects that we've worked on in the town of Berlin. So, as you know, many of our communities have limited staff or capacity to apply for grants or manage them once they do get them. And CMRPC is our team of planners can be a resource to our communities to really help secure funding and remain in compliance, because as the grants are getting more complicated, the state is being very deliberate in seeking their grant in making sure that the grant requirements are followed through on if the grant is awarded. CMRPC support is here to support the application in a couple different ways. First, Danny Marini King, our manager of environmental planning, will work with Heather. We've been working with Heather and Kristen and Fred in the last couple of weeks to kind of understand the project thoroughly. They're the brains behind all this, but our role in this is going to really help, project framing, do the applications. We've been very successful in helping to obtain MVP or hazard mitigation grants across our region, and I think we're still working on your hazard mitigation plan as we speak, getting that across the finish line. So we've got a long history of providing kind of comprehensive support to our municipalities in the region. We've got great, strong and competitive grant applications that we've done, and we've got a very skilled group of planners working with Danny and myself. So we'll work with the town, we'll work with ORS and the other relevant partners to kind of align the project components with Berlin's MVP and their hazard mitigation plan priorities. We'll define the climate risks and resilience benefits provided or addressed by the project. We'll confirm project eligibility. It's always just a matter of knowing who can apply, and all of that with applicable funding programs under the Eco One Stop umbrella. From there, we will work with a project team to prep the technical components of the application. That's the nitty gritty where you develop the narrative. The narrative says what you mean it to say, the maps that support it, flesh out a budget and scope with ORS and Interfluve, compiled letters of commitment from yourselves. Obviously, we'll probably also reach out to the various legislators in the region, the other towns, even abutting towns that might be impacted. and any other supporting documents that are needed for the application. We'll assemble the full package for the town to review, approve, and then to submit as the official applicant. So we'll help do all the background work, and then we'll provide it to the town to actually do the actual submittal. We'll assemble the package. Our staff can work directly with Berlin's Eco One Stop application and the grant management system, which is sometimes fairly intimidating. Or if given the consultant access, or we can prepare the materials and work with somebody within the town and actually sit there as they're putting the application together and submitting it to the state. We've done both scenarios in others with other projects. So we're happy to utilize whichever method works best for the town. Our application assistance will not cost the town any money. We have other resources to do that. We have that have been made available through district local technical assistance, augmentation funding that we've received in the past. So if the grant is awarded, we'll also step in and we can provide ongoing grant administration. We'll work with Heather. There's some procurement aspects to this project. We'll bring in our our own chief procurement officer, who's very conscious of, what the various rules and regulations are under 30B, how we can do the procurement, and so that we stay in compliance with all of the procurement rules as we're bringing on various consultants and contractors to do the work. We'll track milestones. We'll do the compliance requirements. We'll manage the documentation, which sometimes gets tedious. Admittedly. We'll coordinate the procurement of the subcontractors or other vendors. If desired, we can build into a future contract. CMRPC can also pay the subcontractor directly, track eligible expenses, maintain the project's financial records, prepare reimbursement requests, progress reports, final reports required by the state. It's our hope that this reduces the administrative burden on the town staff, especially going through the transitions that you guys will be going through. This is also probably not... if the application is submitted, it's submitted next month. The funding wouldn't be available until probably the earliest late summer or early fall. So hopefully by then the town administrator transitions happen. We'll work with, I believe you have brought on Jeff Nutting. We'll work with the administration that's in place to make sure that everything does get submitted. So it's our hope that this support, really does reduce the burden on the town. Ensures that the project stays in compliance on schedule and eliminates any kind of and is eligible for reimbursement, so that you get paid back the money because it is a reimbursement grant. If these services are beneficial to the town, we'll build our grant management and coordination time into the grant application proposal. So we'll get funded to do that grant administration as part of the proposal itself. The town responsibilities, while CMRPC and ORS will be available to provide the support to the town throughout the application process. If the grant is awarded, the town will still have a number of responsibilities as the official lead applicant throughout the grant life cycle. The paperwork submitting, again, as the applicant, the paperwork to submit for the reimbursement will have to come from the town itself. We'll provide you all the information that needs to get submitted through whatever portal, through the portals that are provided. Also, during the application process, where we are right now, the town will need to approve moving forward, which is why we're here tonight with a project and application. We'll need to establish an account in the state's Green Hub grant management system. This is a new system with this Eco One Stop as a new portal. They've used to have all the grant programs were separated. Now they've brought them all under one portal. Start an Eco One Stop grant application. Just open it up, and then we can provide all of the information that will be submitted into this online portal. Give approval for CMRPC to be given the given consultant access to edit the application directly. It'll make it a little bit easier for us, so we don't have to go back and forth or change things. We can go back in, and we can help coordinate all this with EEA if that's desired. After the application is fully drafted, the town will need to review and approve the application, officially submit, hit the send button, submit button on the application, and then CMRPC can be available to, kind of take the angst or the nervousness out of hitting submit on a $2+ million application. Sometimes makes folks nervous. If the grant's awarded, the town will need to execute the grant agreement with with the Energy and Environmental Affairs, submit the required forms, the W-9s, the certified authorized signatory documents that I'm sure you guys have all seen before. You'll then enter into an agreement with us as a subcontractor to do the grant administration. And then during the implementation phase, the town will then pay us, pay our invoices. We'll invoice you for the administrative costs, just as it's also paying, the other contractors for those elements of the project. We'll be paying ORS, Interfluve, and the other contractors along the way. So as stated before, we can pay the subcontractors directly. It's probably a little bit easier if it's just done in one seamless payment from this town. But again, we can work with the interim town administrator to decide which process works best. And it agreed, usually there's a frequency that the state will require, but if you want the frequency to be faster than that, usually there's an option for that puts the town at the frequency, that you get paid faster. There's less money at risk at any given point in a process, and when you're talking about big dollars like this. So we'll send like I said, CMRPC will send invoices. We'll collect invoices from ORS. We'll collect invoices from Interfluve and create the kind of that reimbursement request package. Overall, the town serves as the legal grant recipient and the signatory. CMRPC provides the day-to-day grant administration, and we've got a great team of folks that are administering, community development block grants and some very large projects. So I feel like we do have the expertise to do that. And ORS will provide the direct project management on the grant. So we think this is a very exciting project. It really takes advantage of a skill set that we've developed quite handily over the last several years. We're excited to work with ORS and be a part of this project. So we really hope that you'll see fit to kind of move forward with this and take advantage of the team that we've put together here. Happy to answer any questions about CMRPC, and I think Heather can talk about more of the details behind the project. But
if I just go, the grant range was pretty wide. Do you have a sense of about how much we're going to be requesting, a ballparkish?
Heather?
So I think it could be about 3 million because so unfortunately over the past few years, I will say that there has been quite a bit of acceleration, I guess I would say, on project cost because of there's been an uptick on material costs, on labor costs. So I think even a year or two ago, it probably would have been cheaper, but it's going to be at least 2 million, I believe, to take down the dam. And within that, you really want to build in some contingency for contracting, because we have to have a contractor because they're the engineering, we're the project manager, but we still need a contractor who specializes in taking down dams. Plus, we would really like to roll into this project some town level projects that are much needed. So my guess, and we can get you an exact budget, the first step was to have you approve it, but I'm going to say about 3 million.
That's fine. A ballpark is fine. I wasn't expecting you to have
A ballpark, yeah.
Lisa?
I was just gonna say, I think we've learned about the fluctuating costs, Heather, as we've seen
Yeah.
one of our bridges in town, that it used to be $5 and then it went up to $20 and now it's a bazillion dollars. So absolutely, can understand the longer we wait, the more it goes up.
Yeah, I'm just, could you elaborate just a little bit more on the timing? Because I know right now we have about 12 open capital projects, and some of those are ARPA, and there is a real lot going on. I think it's going to clear out a little bit towards the end of the year because some of those ARPA projects, those funds are gone. But right now, I know that the town's capacity to do projects is tight.
And we've totally understood that from our conversations with Kristen and Fred and Julia. Again, the application would be submitted next month. We've already got our next meeting set up on Friday to talk through the nitty gritty of the how the application would be assembled. At earliest, it would probably be Late summer is my expectation, maybe more like September by the time the contracting is all said and done. Before we're able to, the town would enter into a contract with the state, and then we would turn around and enter into a contract with you guys to do the administration. The rest of it kind of falls out after that. I think if I remember right, Heather, this is a 2+ year project, right?
Yeah, so my experience with MVP, I'm currently doing one right now, is that we applied in last year, we actually applied in April. You're technically, well, they say you get the funding in July. We didn't get it till October. So for this project, this is due on, they did it a little earlier this year, and now they have the one stop, so it's definitely different. And it's and I've already done the one stop. It's a much easier process, so I can even help you through that, or whoever decides to do it at the town level. But I suspect that we may actually get these earlier, so late summer, anywhere between July and October. I know that's kind of a range, but we're really not sure. If it's anything like this year, it'll be October, but I'm kind of hoping it's either July, August, September, somewhere in there. So to do this, we still have to go for us, as the project manager, for permitting, we still have to get through that last phase of permitting, but we probably more than likely won't get to deconstruction of the dam until the spring.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? I'm pretty excited about this.
We've talked about trying
There,
to align this with the MVP, some of the MVP action items that were indicated in your action plan. We're excited about that. Our entire staff are ready to come and move turtles and fish around if needed.
That
We're
is going to
excited
be
about
an
the-
outreach component. I suggested that when we do the dewatering of the Whaler Pond impoundment, that part of the community outreach and engagement would be to have, you know, the town residents show up and help, because there's limited biologists that can do it, and they've done this in other projects, and it's a huge thing for people to come out and help move all these critters. So I think it'd be a really good outreach tool.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun.
Sounds it. If there are other questions, or is there a motion to approve moving forward with these?
I guess just one more. Kristen, are you confident with us having the capacity to handle this by that time? I mean, I know you're not going to be here, but are you comfortable with?
Yes, that was actually the first thing out of my mouth, and I felt really bad saying, "Hey, Heather, I'm really sorry to say this, but we don't have the capacity." And bringing in CMRPC, and Trish and I have worked together for about 15 years, well, 16 now, because it's 2016. And I have stressed the fact that not only do we not have the capacity on the grant writing side, but not on the grant management
Administration,
either.
yeah.
And that there just isn't anyone to do it outside of the TA, and that we're going to have an interim. So they understood that from the get-go, and we had several conversations about what that would look like and how it would be implemented. And I do feel very comfortable, particularly given my past experience with CMRPC, that bringing them in, we should not have an issue. There should not be a heavy load on our end at all.
Yeah, I think without RPC, I don't see how we could have the capacity to make this happen. I think that because of that partnership, this is going to be something that's going to sort of do a lot of improvement to the town.
Yeah, it just looked like there was still definitely a role for the town to play, so I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and
So-
that might
That's good.
be, oh, sorry, go ahead, Trish.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, to break it down into very simple terms, we remain the project manager, and it's for an MVP grant and for the dam and seawall. We can do the dam and seawall, but we were gonna roll it all together. But to do an MVP grant, it has to be done at the town level. So essentially, you're acting as the button pusher to
Yeah.
say that we are actually submitting this. So CMRPC already has the funding to assist towns in this capacity. So they already have that funding built in. So doing the grant writing, we're doing that together. But then they just write in their costs to do the grant administration with the grant itself. So if we get awarded, they're already going to be getting the funding to assist you with that. We will work with people at the town, but the heavy lift's going to be CMRPC.
Okay.
And the state is starting to realize this, that a number of our more rural communities with limited capacity really do need that extra assistance with the administration of these. They're understanding that that cost is going to get built in, and we've done that on a number of other projects.
Okay. Then if everybody's comfortable, I'm happy to make a motion.
And I will second it.
Great. I think this is a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I will gladly take my environmental sciences degrees and come out and help move critters at some point. I think we're ready to vote then. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Heather and Trish. Thank you very much.
We look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Appreciate you.
I think next is our 1B, a discuss and vote on plumbing, gas, wiring, increased fees with our building inspector. I did have to dig on our new website to find our own list of fees.
Mute video. All right, I've got audio. Working on video.
Yep. Before the meeting, we saw a video, I thought.
I apologize. I'm not seem to be able to get there. Still using my phone. It says camera allowed. I'm clicking that. Continue to allow.
At a certain point, we might just let you get away with your name being on the screen. We'll
Maybe.
assume you are really you.
It is really me.
Sounds like him.
So take away your start with the. Let us know what's the request.
All right. Good evening, everybody. What's before you is to increase the fee schedule for the electrical, wiring permits, and plumbing and gas permits. A little background: the last time they were changed was in 2017, and a little survey of regional communities. There's room to go up. We're a little bit on the low side compared to the other communities that we looked at. So I think it's time to increase those a little bit so that the inspectors can help offset the inflation and costs that they incur of running around with their own vehicles and using their own phones to make calls and stuff. One of the things that we looked at on the wiring side of things, even though we're increasing on just about everything, was we're actually decreasing for basic services. So say someone has to replace a electric cooktop, or they're only adding one outlet to their house. Simple things like that actually has decreased. I couldn't see that there should be an increase on that. I think that's, especially like if they're replacing a dishwasher or a stove or electric dryer, that theoretically by code a permit would be required. I couldn't see that there should be an increase on that. And again, actually we decreased on the fee schedule because it's a simple thing. The inspector walks in, looks at it and says, yeah, it's wide, good, and it should be safe. On the plumbing and gas side of things, it's a very minute increase. It's not much, but it's a better format. It's an easier to read format than what the existing format was. It simplifies. It's a base price plus a certain amount per fixture or device that they're doing. So it's a cleaner format, easier to understand, easier to figure out what the fee is. Did I lose you all?
No.
No, we're there.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
Uh,
Just a long pause. It's like,
yeah, it's a long pause. my monitor's over here where I'm looking at all the numbers, and I've looked at them before, and I've pulled up because you also included the fees from a bunch of other towns around us.
Right.
Uh,
They're all,
it all looked pretty good to me. It looked unreasonable. 10 years, the cost of everything. You can't buy anything today that you did 10 years ago. And you're right. The people doing it have added costs. And
yeah. My main thing, the numbers look great. I just was wondering if we can make it sort of a routine to do this every X number of years. If there is a way to note somewhere, or if there is somewhere we keep track of these types of things so that we are not going that many years, because that's kind of crazy.
yeah, probably every 3 to 5 years is probably where the
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know how we track those things, but I think
Well, I had
them.
looked at it a couple of years ago, and a couple of years ago, we were not out of line, in my opinion. And but I think if you look at the other communities, they just recently went up to those numbers within the last 2 years. So I have looked at them in the past couple of years, and up until recently, I didn't see the big justification. But now, when the other communities start going up, we don't want to be the top, but we still want to be competitive, and we want to treat the inspectors fairly.
Yeah, it wasn't anything on you, because I know things go crazy. That's why I was wondering if we just note somewhere that these get
Yeah.
revisited every X number of years.
Well, maybe Lisa, I know that we're gonna try to get all the policies and procedures on a basis as well. So maybe just somewhere we stick a little tickler in the file to take a look at. Take a look at those. Yep.
Yeah, as the rotation of those.
Yep.
I don't have any quibbles with any of the numbers. I'd be fine supporting this as is.
Okay.
Motion to approve the new fee schedules.
Second. Well,
Just one caveat to that is all this information has to be altered in the portal on our permit software. So that will take a little bit of time. And Leanne, my admin, she will be out for a little while in April, probably 5 or 6 weeks. So we would like an implementation date of, say, July 1st. So an effective date of July 1st.
Yeah, because the documents you submitted had effective dates on it as July 1st. I think that's a fine time.
Okay, thank you.
Was that a second, Peg?
yes, it was.
Then I think we're ready to vote on the increase in permit fees effective July 1st. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Voice Hockey, aye.
Thank you very much for your work on this, Rich.
Well, thank you all.
Mr.
And-
Hanks.
Can I just say that, obviously I'm down to my probably last month, and I would like to say how grateful I've been to been employed by the town of Berlin. It's been a great pleasure. I've met a lot of great people. The select board, your current board, and past boards have been very accommodating, very reasonable, understanding. It was a breath of fresh air from my past community, and I just want to thank everybody for the support that I've gotten through the years. And again, it's been an absolute great pleasure to work for the community, and it is a great community, and it's an awesome place to work. So I just want to let you all know that.
Well, thanks, Rich. I mean, I think OPEB is our retirement health benefits. I think it's one of the big legacies you'll leave behind. And you and I definitely had
for doing that.
it over time, and we have found a way to make it work.
Yes, I appreciated the support on that as well. And again, just thank you all for everything you've done for me.
Oh, never say never, Mr. Hanks.
Never say never.
Never know. Just saying. It's only PTFN for now. There you go.
Yes, I like to stay in touch with a lot of people, and you are all those people I like to stay in touch with. And moving forward, if something comes up with your new person and you need help or questions, if I can assist, please reach out, and I'll be more than happy to assist.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good night, everybody.
Night, Mr. Hanks.
Let's see, 1C on our agenda, discuss and vote on a matching fund warrant article for regional district decarbonization grant. This was added to the agenda actually this evening because of some timing of this grant. And so I agreed that it was both unforeseen and critical on timing. And so Take it away, Tim.
Tim, you're on mute.
Oops. I don't think he's on mute because it doesn't have a little thing next to it, but his microphone is not picking things up. It's all that sort of AV stuff. I avoided all that. Oh, I thought so. Oh. Oh. Thought we had him for a moment.
He uses this for work all the time, so
It's Zoom. Can you hear me? I hope.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So this is a complicated one. Bear with me while I say my tale of woe. So we are working through several different aspects of trying to electrify the school for its heating and cooling. And we have a couple of different grant applications that are in the works right now. What we're discussing tonight is actually a federal grant that we initially felt we were not really a good candidate for. It is a regional school district decarbonization grant. The lead on this, because you heard from CMRPC, the lead on this is actually the school district, not us. But as the Energy Committee and as the owners of Berlin Memorial School, we have a role to play. The project is designed, again, to provide heating and cooling to select classrooms within the school. It is designed to be done in phases because the initial price tag of this operation was in the millions of dollars. And at this point, we are just trying to get the most important classrooms done first, and then work our way through the varying funding challenges that we have on such a large project. We do have a Green Community Grant, which is pending, which seeks to also address this process or this project. But we are seeking additionally this grant through the state and federal organizations. Originally, like I said, we weren't really a good fit, so we had allowed the timeline for a statement of intent to go by. Based on the recommendation of our advisors and an extension of that date, we chose to attempt to get an application in. The application is due next Friday. Our statement of intent should have been done a while ago, but that is not really a heavy lift. We're in good position to complete that. We have worked with our partners, both in National Grid, Weston and Sampson, our energy manager, as well as DOER and the school committee, and specifically representatives of the administration. We had a meeting today at 2 o'clock where we went over a lot of these things, and it became clear to us that some of the things that we had assumed were not correct, some of the approvals that we needed were not in place, and some of the funding, though it is not critical that we have it all worked out, we at least need to brief you as the executive body of the town on what we're doing. Having a volunteer in my capacity just saying, sure, the town is cool with this, we're willing to sign up for $50,000, didn't work for the state, didn't work for anybody. So I'm before you tonight for that reason. We do believe that we can potentially meet this. Another factor that was against us was that you needed to not, in the scoring criteria for the grant, priority was given to communities who were not a green community, which is not us. It was given to priorities to economically disadvantaged or minority majority communities, which we are not. So those were additional reasons why we really didn't think we had a good really position to seek out this grant. Our advisors have mentioned to us that, first of all, there aren't that many regional school districts in the Commonwealth. And secondly, not all of them are seeking these grant monies. So that is why we chose to execute the application. The biggest issue that we're facing right now is that the grant itself has a maximum value of $200,000. And the community is required to match that at 25% maximum. So if we went for the maximum $200,000, we would need approval, or we would need your backing to come up with $50,000 in order to secure 200,000. There are a couple options available to us. First of which is on-bill repayment. We have used this in other aspects of our projects to date. Essentially, that is an interest-free 36-month loan that is given to us by National Grid. We just pay it back on our electric bill. I know that's a little bit, we need to talk about that because it would introduce a, operational expense to the town over and above that when it's kind of, funding a project like this, but it is something that is well understood, been done multiple times, and completely acceptable both the National Grid as well as the Commonwealth. We did get an exception. One of the other things we're up against on this thing, other than the extremely compressed timeline, is that Al Gannon, the acting superintendent or interim superintendent, is in Puerto Rico. He's out of the country. His signature was required as the lead applicant, but we did get an exception for Aaron Osborne, the director of finance, to sign on his behalf. So we've knocked that last hurdle down. Any funds that you commit at this point, you're not actually committing any funds. Essentially, what all you're doing is placing a seal of approval on our application that would be only utilized if we actually were to win, which is by no means guaranteed. We have a meeting next week to have a lot of our questions answered, receive feedback from the granting authority, as well as work out some of the details on what this would involve and how our application would be received. We are behind the curve a little bit. Other communities are already having these meetings, but we've been assured that there's no real prejudice associated with it, that it'll be fine, and that they have space for us. So we don't anticipate that to be a problem. That's what really needs to happen tonight, is that I need to prove that the community is behind this to the granting authority when we meet with them next week. It has to be more than just my say-so. So that's why I'm before you tonight. I know that we discussed, well, it was put on the agenda as potentially reopening the warrants and using that avenue to take some of the funds that had been previously allocated to the roof to potentially cover this. My recommendation to you is to not do that at this time, certainly not at this meeting. You have enough time that if you wish to postpone that kind of decision, you may do so. Additionally, I think there's some jurisdictional aspects that need to be worked out because those funds were actually transferred over to the school committee. I don't know, it's not my place to tell you, but whether or not that is something that even requires your vote or a town meeting vote at this point. Aaron, the director of finance, felt that they could potentially reallocate it within their own auspices, but the vote of the school committee. So again, this is well outside my area of expertise, but I do think it is something that needs to be resolved before we take any action for annual town meeting. So to summarize, this is a grant opportunity that's worth $200,000. Total grant would be on the order of $250,000 with our matching. There would be rebates and incentives that would come to us from National Grid to further amplify those funds. You could use basically a no interest 36-month loan to pay down the costs that we have incurred, which would be the $50,000 as a way. And it also would interact directly with any future grants that we would see either through Green Community, or there's an additional decarbonization grant that I was made aware of this evening that is going to be upcoming in the next several months. So what I'm asking for at this point is approval of the board to be able to go into this conversation with the granting authority with the support of you that, again, that if we do have, there is a sense of the community that this is something we wish to do, and that the authority would be vested in either Kristen or her or the interim to do so at a future date should the grant become actionable. Any questions?
The grant management. So if we got this grant, this is going to be done by the schools. It goes back to sort of Lisa's earlier question about just our ability to add sort of more projects on the town.
So this would be done like all of the green community grants we have done to date. It is through a project facilitator, which is a product of National Grid's involvement with the program. That does not require an RFP because they are pre-selected and pre-approved by the Commonwealth. So from a project management standpoint, it is no more than what we've done in the past. It is not day-to-day responsibility, but it is sign off. It is similar to what I heard in the dam discussion. The town of Berlin needs to push the button. The town of Berlin needs to sign the documents. But the actual work being done would be done by a pre-selected vendor using existing project management with National Grid kind of looking over their shoulder as our partner in the Community Solutions Program. And the green and DOER would be signing off, or in this case, it wouldn't be DOER, it'd be the granting authority would be signing off on the completed work.
And the actual rooms that get prioritized, that's all going to be done in coordination with the schools. We're not as select board trying to figure out what we think the most important rooms are. Hopefully the schools will have a big say over those type of things.
No, we have suggested in our green community grant that is pending a sequence of rooms to choose from, one of which was the special education room, which was deemed by the principal as being particularly high priority. But no, it is not the select board's. There's no need for the select board to do that. That is not really the select board's place to do that. We would not be asking that of you.
Peg, do you have any questions?
No, I trust Tim. I've worked with him long enough that if he comes back with a proposal and provides all the information, he's answered all the questions that I would have.
Yep. Lisa, do you have any questions?
No.
Yeah. Just last time I asked if anyone had questions, you both spoke, so I figured I might just.
Yeah,
Well, first, it's hard to tell who I'm looking at when I'm
I
staring
get
at one.
previews on this stuff, so yeah.
And again, to frame the motion, really all we're
Yes.
looking for is the granting of the authority to proceed, and that there is a statement of intent that the community would be willing to seek out those funds necessary for matching the grant. And one last point before you guys do that. I am aware, because we've used it before, of a existing warrant article that allows for funds for this kind of situation. We've tapped into it before. If I can make a plea for a future of putting some of those additional funds into that kind of place, so that when situations come up like this with a fast-moving grant opportunity, that we could seek, TA approval to go after these things, that would be extraordinarily helpful for our work on the Energy Committee.
Okay. Peg or Lisa, is there a motion out there?
Motion to support the potential grant application.
Seconded.
I think we've dispersed with questions, so I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Thank you very much, Tim.
You're
I
welcome.
think then I don't think we need to do D. Is that correct? D and Kristen? So I think we will skip reopening the town warrant at the moment. It might come back on a future agenda item if necessary. Next on the agenda would be, thank you, Tim. This will be general public comment. I am on the right agenda, correct? Yes. If people are in the audience would like to kind of just raise your hand, and we'll move on to a couple of agenda items, and I will go back to general public comment after number 4, consent items. Kristen, is there much of a TA report? Did I miss one?
No, I did provide you with an updated project list. I still have up to the last minute putting in as
Yep.
much information as a brain dump as I'm able to, since there is so much in my brain. I'm trying to get it out
Yep.
on paper to make it as easy as possible. Obviously, you've seen the state of the budget, you have
Yep.
your warrant. And those were really my focus for the most key
Yeah.
things to get done, along with wrapping up a lot of the, little loose ends and things. So,
I think perfect.
okay.
I was gonna say, I'm thinking we're gonna take your last second revisions as of whatever Thursday or Friday, whatever your last moments are, and then we will bring them to our March 16th meeting when Jeff is here. And then with Jeff, discuss both what he thinks his skill sets are and where our priorities are, and sort of give him some sort of marching orders from that. I think it's in decent shape, but people have quick questions that they want from her. I think individually, if you're okay, if we have a, boy, could you add more detail on X or Y, at least to take it under consideration over your next couple of days. Day. Peg or Lisa? If not, then let's go on to the consent items. There are two of them. One is approving the minutes of December 15th and the February 9th. The second one is to add the 1-year vacancy on the Board of Assessors to the town election ballot.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Then we'll vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
Okay, now I'm already stressing out about saying this. We're going to discuss and vote on the Mabel Felton Marble Scholarship.
Well
Feel
done.
bad anytime I get that name wrong. Again, I walk by the stone when I'm in the cemetery on a regular basis. So it's the upcoming scholarship and the changes and the press release. Kristen?
This is standard every year.
Yep.
No changes.
Actually,
There were changes.
Oh,
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
changes. That's why I put it
Yep.
on. And so instead of it being for a female student only, the changes are that it would be open to any
Mhm.
Berlin high school student, 12th grader, who is going to pursue a college education or vocational education, something post-high school, 2-year, 4-year or vocational, that they would be the first person in their family to be pursuing that education. So it couldn't be, would have to be that their parents or grandparents had not gone to college. And the caveat with the money is if there's only one if there's only one candidate chosen, then that person gets the entire amount that was donated this year. But no more than 2 for 1,000 each, or one recipient for the full amount.
So these are significant changes. So
Yes.
gender is no longer a concern, but the first in a couple of generations to be attending post high school education, either vocational or college.
Yes.
That is great.
Um,
And then you already have a press release that you'll send out in post.
Yes.
And thank you to the family for continuing to do this.
Yes.
You know, you make tremendous changes in the lives of those kids who go
Yep.
to college, who may need just that little extra bump. So thank you for your continued support for the town. It means a lot.
Motion to approve the scholarship and accompanying documents.
Definite second on that.
And then I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
I've been good at coughing only while other people are talking. Other business then, to discuss the appointment of a town administrator search committee. Basically following up on Lisa did I think the heavy lifting from a meeting or so ago. and now I'm trying to find out where my notes are. They're not. Um, Trying to do a 5-person committee where one would be a town employee that we think there will be Chief McClellan of the fire department, one being a FinCom appointment where I think it's important someone just officially to know and understand numbers and budgets because that's one of the committees the TA appoints. And then in some respects, an appointment of all 3 of us, but since each of us appointing one person, except that one of them should be a select board member, I did take it upon myself to sort of be the select board member and then not appoint someone else for me. And so sort of Lisa thinking that Cliff would be sort of your appointment and then Peg would have one as well.
I actually did have a few comments.
Sure.
First, the composition. The town administrator role touches governance, operations, finance, and community engagement. So with, if you do the 3 that we're talking about, which I think we still probably need to just make sure everybody's on board with, we would have really strong governance and financial representation in the mix. I think it would strengthen the process to ensure we include at least 1 or 2 members who are not currently or recently embedded in town government, so the committee reflects a broader community perspective and maintains neutrality. And then the other piece is, I think there was something that I saw about having FinCom appoint a member. And I
Yep.
think this is a select board appointed committee, and I think it is important that we are clear that the select board appoints this committee and retains responsibility for its composition. I'm comfortable seeking recommendations from other boards or individuals, but I would prefer that the final appointments be made by the board as a whole rather than framed as individual selections or allocated seats. That keeps the responsibility and accountability where it belongs. I just want to make sure that we have a really sort of balanced and diverse committee and that we all sort of agree on who's on it. I don't really like this is Lisa's and this is Peg's and that sort of thing because it makes it sound like we have our own individuals, and I really want it to be a collective thing.
Your wording is better, and it could be that we look for a recommendation from Peg and a recommendation from you and a recommendation from FinCom for the select board to appoint.
Yeah, I would put Cliff because he just came off of there. Fits
Yep.
that. That's part of
Okay.
the reason I thought he would be sort of a consensus person because he has FinCom, he has
Sure.
school, he's been through superintendent searches already. So
Yep.
I would put him as just
Okay.
the FinCom
Sure.
or the finance sort of placeholder.
Sure. Are there like I get stuck at how do we have where do we find the other 2 names?
I have 2, but I don't want to, I will throw them out to you, but if other people have people, that's fine. I've just been sort of really focused on trying to get the broader,
Yep.
Nate, Trediak, the Link president, as long as the timing works out, he is interested. And Lindsay Tatnall is also interested, and she's a professional in pharmaceuticals. I think she would also be a good choice. But certainly if others have folks.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to recommend Sue Tarian. I mean, Sue has been instrumental in quite a few of the interviews that have gone on. She's touched highway, she's touched fire, she's touched police. So she knows those areas as well. I think she brings a broader perspective. And honestly, from my knowing and interactions with her, she asks the questions and she's not afraid to ask the questions that everyone is thinking, but no one will ask. And she does. She's very good at, being the point person and making sure that things are followed and that it's equal and it's succinct across the board. So I don't think that fire or police or highway would ask her to be on these committees if they did not trust her judgment value.
Okay. Of the 2 that I recommend, I think just given, I think I would say probably Lindsay. But Nate is also valid, and they're both, like I said, they both have kids in Berlin Memorial, so that was the other piece of that for me.
So we're not going to have somebody from FinCom?
I think Cliff,
Cliff?
And Scott has also been on FinCom. If Scott is our choice, then Scott, that's pretty heavy on
Got 'em
FinCom.
both, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was fine with that recommendation. Um, assuming people were chatting about, end up saying yes, but that if we ended up with a committee of Cliff and Mike and me and Sue and Lindsay, with potentially Nate as an alternate. So if someone ends up not being able to do it, that really, can fill in for basically anybody, but I think the chief, because I think we still want to have a major department head on it. But that if there ends up being some, life happens apparently in the world, that we don't end up having a broken committee because someone had a life commitment go on.
I mean, I like it that parents are now stepping up,
Yep.
Yeah,
for
and I
this.
just had to ask, and both of them were like, we would very much like to be part of this if we can make it
Great.
work.
Yep. No, and I do like your alternate, so let them be there, whoever it
Yep.
is, whether it's Lindsay or whether it's Nate, have them go
Yep.
so that in the event somebody bows out, like a jury,
So
they
who's
just
been there?
ride in the seat.
Yeah, we could also make, Scott, we could make you ex officio where you attend but don't vote too, and put all of them on
Yep.
there.
Yeah, again, I'm not opposed. I don't have an ego into this thing. And so if we, I,
Either way.
I don't want to, my hesitation is only just hamstring us with stuff. I think the group we have of six, that if all of them are going, I have no problem going ex officio and letting them all sort of have the votes. And if one of them ends up with a problem, I'll be the alternate to fill in. I will also, if between the Lisa, you and Peg, and D get me sort of contact information, I will start organizing the committee and trying to find dates and times to meet, obviously in coordination with MRI, because there's no reason for us just to sit around and twiddle thumbs. But so that some of that stuff can just sort of keep moving at a decent clip.
Okay.
That works.
A motion from Lisa then?
Motion to approve the committee as stated.
Seconded.
I think that's good discussion. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.
At every vote tonight, I've wanted to say all in favor, say aye. I've caught myself every time so far. That will bring us back to the beginning, which was budget stuff. I think the warrant article, I think, is actually we should be taking a look at. That was what, 24 articles? And there's a bunch of, what I was looking at is now in the trash.
I'm so sorry. I was just going to add, but I didn't want to interrupt you. I had to add a warrant article last minute. So I just uploaded the most recent version, and it was a snow and ice deficit to everyone's, I'm sure.
I was wondering why we didn't have one of those yet.
Yeah.
It's been years since we've had them, but we used to have them every single time.
Right. And the Muni Mod Act did change that, and how you can allocate it. You can raise it on the recap sheet, but my understanding is because we have had mild winters, we haven't need to do it. And now you've typically done it through a free cash, and you certainly have enough free cash to do that. So I have added that, and I'm just pulling it up now. That gives you, I believe, a 30 article warrant, and I can walk you through, or if you want to take a look and ask specific questions, whatever you prefer.
I was going to start at the beginning, and I think I might start with the cover page. I do like the idea that we're going to tell people that as of September 1st, there's a new voting locations. I worry that telling people that right before Maytown meeting, which is not at a new location, might be confusing.
The only reason we're doing it this way is because we're legally required to do so, and we would have to send a separate mailing that would be really costly, unfortunately.
You've answered my question.
Okay.
And start time meeting has to be 7:30 by the bylaw, because the bylaw change we made has not been yet approved by the state that apparently wants to spend a lot of time trying to decide if we're allowed to have in our bylaws a specific time for our meeting that really only the residents of Berlin care about.
Yes, and I didn't get a chance to, but Lisa had a wonderful suggestion to call the Attorney General's office and just ask for some assistance in figuring out where this is at in the process. It's literally striking a time. So it
Right.
should not be a complicated approval, but we have not received it yet. So I can make a phone call tomorrow and we can see where we can get with that. But I'm wondering if at this point you may want to set a special town meeting and
Yep.
call it early if you like.
Yep.
However, on the flip side of that, there were really only 5 articles that I felt were appropriate for a special town meeting. It's not going to buy you much time. So, and you're going to have to do 2 separate warrants and 2 separate meetings, and it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, I agree. So it's 7:30 right now, unless the Attorney General strikes it and we can start earlier.
Correct. And by the time you have to mail this and post it, which is going to be your first week of April, you're running up at a time.
Yep. Okay, that's anything I had before we actually get to articles. Select board doesn't, a select board vote is not on every article. There's only some that select board has votes on, correct?
No,
Or-
you have the right
You're
to
the
vote on
right.
every
We
article.
have the
In
right.
fact, I've encouraged it, but the board hasn't wanted to do that in the past few years. It's not something you've customarily
Right.
done. I encourage it actually if you want to, but
I think it's on the ones that we think are bigger, more controversial, to make it clear that we support it. Since we did the warrant, if we really hated it, we could just not put it on the warrant. So
true, but you could have it on the warrant and it's a 2-1 vote.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
I would recommend you either vote on all or none.
okay. Um, uh, what's the pledge? You folks want to vote on warrant articles as we go through? We'll see where we go. If we find some we want to vote on, then we'll go back and hit some of the others. So warrant article is our favorite one, prior year expenses that every year we swear we'll never, ever, ever, ever do again. And yet we do every single year for 15 years.
Scott, do you want to screen share or just talk through them?
Oh, sorry. You're right.
I think.
I'm staring at my screen. I don't know why you guys can't share my screen if I don't share it.
I can share my screen. Is that easier?
I don't care who scares it, who does it. I think
I
it's
will do.
helpful.
Oh, you got it,
Sure.
Scott. Okay, great. So prior year expenses, unfortunately, always going to be on there. Things happen. This was the fault of the company. They did not send it prior to the close of the fiscal year. Unfortunately, we owe it. So there is one outstanding bill from 495 truck.
Article 2.
Conservation Commission standard article every year from the Solomon Pond mitigation agreement. They get 50 grand, but it has to flow to free cash first and be appropriated by town meeting.
That only has what, 1 year left?
I believe there's 1 year left on it after this. Yep. We're checking. June's looking into that.
Fire fund grant deficit.
Yeah, so unfortunately, there were some old fire grants that predate both myself and Chief McQuillan that had matching funds. And the matching funds were not allocated. So the grants a lot of grants are able to run deficit spending. And when the reimbursement came in from the state, obviously the match portion was not reimbursed. And apparently the town had not accounted for those matching funds. So this is a cleanup item. June is getting the exact amount. She is at FinCom right now since we're doing double duty, but she will provide the final amount. It looks like it's around 25 grand.
Town hall property line.
So in order to move forward with complete streets, we have to address the septic issue. And in order to address the septic issue, we have a property line dispute between the 1870 town hall and the neighbor. The property lines are not clear. So we have to actually get a property line agreement, which is one of the first things that Jeff will need to work on because it has to go to this May town meeting to not slow down the project.
And we feel that we're going to be able to find an agreement about where the line is. It's just a matter of just agreeing where it is, right? Yeah.
It is, and there's been a little bit of difficulty getting a contact, but I finally do have one. Barry Ager, many thanks, was able to track down the daughter of the owner because the owner is not living there anymore. So we do have a person to now communicate with.
Good.
Article 5 is just adding back and replenishing the building vehicle equipments, and I'm adding in road expenses because there are certain things that come up that are not covered under Chapter 90 or we don't have the funds for, like the signage that the state made us put in this year that we didn't have the money for up on 62. So I did want to expand that to include any unanticipated road equipment. And I would recommend, as this is the second year, that this be allowed to be expended at the approval of the town administrator as opposed to having to wait to a select board meeting because a lot of these issues are emergency issues that have to be funded right away.
I kind of like the check though from the select board. And I get it, delays. We meet every other week. We could meet in 72 hours if necessary. It could be unanticipated and added to agenda. It allows money to disappear and us not really to be. It could be, there could be other wording that satisfies it. It could be like, approved by the town administrator with notification to the select board, so that any spending from it, we at least get to say in a public meeting and acknowledge that it happened. That could be a nice compromise.
I would like that. I mean, I personally would like the TA to be able to just deal with the emergencies. Especially since every single one of these we have approved without blinking.
Yep.
But I'm fine with the additional, the select board will be notified or be.
Right, and notify could easily be as part of your town administrator report in the next upcoming meeting. I mean, I think that, and so, I mean, maybe that's too micromanaging, and approval of town administrator is fine. And that we will make it clear, the select board, of how much they want to be involved in this or not. Article 6.
If our town administrator is like randomly spending things, then we have a bigger problem.
Right. Article 6, which is,
Budget.
I personally like the idea that these are called out as individual motions like this. It lets people see what's going to be voted on, because you're talking about printing it like this, correct?
I am, and in the past, they have been printed separately in case of
Right.
last minute changes, but all of the motions are proposed and can be changed on the floor. And I think
Yep.
if you want transparency and the public to understand what they're voting on, you want this out there in advance. I am also proposing that you put the schools' budget articles first. We've heard that many times, and I also recommended if you're going to do one school, you do both schools. So I have moved Berlin-Boylston and Assabet up to A and B.
I like it.
So that's highlighted still because those numbers have to be filled in and changed. Those are
Okay.
last year's numbers. So that's why that's still highlighted.
Yep.
And we also put a note here about the capital for Berlin-Boylston because that does come out of the operating budget, but it's funded through free cash. I'll never forget my first year mistake that it went in the capital plan and the operating budget, which is part of the reason why we have more free cash this year, because that cash has finally been certified and released that was double held. So we make a note of it now so people understand what's being paid for capital. That is highlighted because we don't have the final budget yet from the schools, but this is where we stand as of right now.
At some point, not necessarily part of the warrant, that there will be a chart of like, we start with free cash of X and here's all the uses of free cash proposed in the budget ending in Y, because a whole bunch of warrant articles are pulling free cash.
Yep. So if you go and you can even add that to the warrant if you like, but if you go into the actual budget itself, I have added a free cash spreadsheet and it's taking out all of the articles. Or listing all the articles and the spending that is coming out of free cash. It's basically a free cash plan. But I've seen those put in warrants before too, so that's definitely something that you could do.
Right. This is the chart you're referring to.
Yes. Yep. So I've seen, I mean, I would clean that up a little if it was going in the warrant, but I've seen those as like the last page of a warrant, and it's kind of nice for a summary. And then it shows you what you have left and what you're going to roll over to the next year. And this is just based on the current recommendations, obviously. Subject to change, but, and I just noticed I don't have the snow and ice in there, so I'm going to add that one in.
Article 7 is capital.
Yep. So Anna Crane will be here next week to present those to you. As you can see, it's also a good year to use some free cash because there's a whopping 11,000 coming out of free cash and the rest is public safety mitigation. And capital did
Nice.
recommend, and they'll talk to you about this, the guidelines allow them to use up to 30% or recommend using up to 30% of free cash for capital. They have asked that because there is so little going in free cash between the schools and the town, that balance be put into capital stabilization. It makes sense. We took a chunk out for the roof. And I think it would make sense to replenish at this time. So that is
Yeah,
the
that
balance.
looks good.
That is the vote that capital took.
Which is a nice transition to Article 8, right?
Yes, I was kind of trying to kill two birds with one stone there. So yes, capital stabilization, just under $600,000 you'd put in, which is great for roofs. Anything else, big projects that are going to
Yep.
cost, hundreds of thousands of dollars where you might not have the money in that year set aside to do that. And then general stabilization, the guidelines propose 10%. So that would be 287,500, I'm sorry, 287,953 if you want to do the full 10%.
Yeah. Although I think it's FinCom's decision for 10, I would put in like 100,000. I think we're already putting into OPEB more than any other, most towns are putting in when it comes to percentage. And I think
So-
it continues to give us flexibility.
I have to double check this, but if I'm remembering correctly, we have about $150,000 in there right now.
Right,
If
right.
we add 100, we can do that PRIT investment that Richard was always talking about, and that compounds
Right.
significantly over time. So I just put it in as
Yeah.
a standard, but I think at
I
least
would
if you
put-
do at least 100, then
Right. I would put in enough to at least trigger that, but
Okay.
not too much more than that, because 287 is a lot of money that gives us not free cash potentially available for fall town meeting if there are projects we wanted to do at fall town meeting.
I'm gonna just make a note on there.
Lisa and Peg, I don't want to necessarily be speaking just for the select board if you're not in
No.
agreement.
I'm fine.
Eleven is the standard how much the revolving funds can have on it.
No
Those
change
numbers
to that.
aren't changing, correct?
They are not. I have not received any requests, and I actually did talk to the Board of Health about the transfer station just to make sure.
Article 12 is select board member Stone's favorite article.
Peg's article. That's right.
Yes.
I'll never forget that as long as I live, Peg. I'm gonna call you every year when I have a Peg article.
That's
Just so
right.
you know,
I'll
from
come.
anywhere.
That's right. Special guest. I can make
That's right.
appearances.
Make an appearance. I like that.
Article 13 is just the CPA budget. This is not
Correct.
actually spending anything beyond the administrative costs. The rest goes into reserves that then have to be spent otherwise.
And the buckets. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And then 14, 15, and 16 are the CPA projects, which are town clock restoration,
Yep.
the Clark Trail, Clark Conservation Area trail restoration from the trees, basically, and the damage from the tornado. And then they would like to create a conservation commission fund, which I actually think is a great idea, so that they have money for legal fees, surveys, things that they can use to explore acquisition of property, because those come up fast and we've had to do reserve fund transfers before for that. So I think having that pre-planning money makes a lot of sense. Next is the voting booths. I did confirm, thank you, Lisa and Tim, the price has gone up from the 8,000. It is now 9. So we have updated that, and thank you for providing the language, Lisa. Landfill studies, I'm sorry.
Nope, keep going. Yep, 18.
18 and 19 are what you saw in the budget, the $38,000 I already spoke about that I pulled out of the supplemental funding. We got the late couple supplemental fundings from Board of Health, and I think they make more sense as standalone articles. The Planning Board has asked for $5,000 to continue their master plan updates. That's pretty standard.
Do we put this 5,000 into the same revolving fund over again, or is this a separate $5,000 line every year we do this?
It's not a revolving fund. I don't know. You might be able to create a revolving fund for that. I've never done it. So they just ask for bits
Yep.
and pieces here and there.
Yep, they ask for about, because it's like 20,000 to do, and you do it once every 4 years. So instead you do one section every year. So the
Exactly.
spending is pretty flat. And
Exactly.
I asked at one point that if it's 5,000 every year, why is it not a budget line item? And that's because if it overflows a calendar or fiscal year, they don't want to have to give it back and then take out the next one. It makes sense.
Correct. And it allows them crossover, right? You have a little bit left
Yep.
on one, you can offset
Yep.
the next and et cetera. So they've also asked the planning board for $15,000 for zoning bylaw revisions to address the Solomon Pond Mall sale, which I think is very smart as well. That needs to be aligned with Marlboro. Paramedic training we've talked about before. This would be 72,000 to train 4 of our existing employees to become paramedics and allow for transfer. That language Chief is working on a little bit, so that's just some draft language in there at this
And
time.
the costs for salaries related to this are in the budget side of it as well.
So that's going to have to be negotiated through the new contract negotiations
Yeah.
with fire. You need to put the paramedics in because they're not in the contract yet. And we've set aside some funding for union negotiations. Chief, also, we've had a lot of talk about AEDs and defibrillators, and it was sort of a conversation of, well, why aren't we universally looking at this issue and making sure we have them safely in all of our buildings and facilities? So Chief McQuillan requested $9,000 for the purchase, installation, maintenance, and repair of defibrillators at anything town-owned where it's appropriate to have one. So an ice deficit, Article 24, the one I just added. So far, I've authorized $50,000 to Fred. It looks like he may need probably another 25 to 30, although again, that was, a week and a half ago. So, more snows come, it may be higher than that. So that'll be a final number you'll get from June before the warrant sends. Article 20. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I say historically, although it doesn't have to be, and so my OCD aside, snow and snow deficit is usually one of the early articles as opposed to one of the late, because it is fiscal year 26, not 27.
That is actually a very valid point. I should move that to STM. Thank you. This is what I get for adding things last minute. So that
No, that's fine.
on STM.
You're adding it because you thought about it. It's better to have it and have it somewhere than
stick it in.
than
Yeah, it just
than
needs to
forget
be
about it.
moved.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then Article 25, we talked about, so I wrote it up. Town council may revise this language a little, but it's the idea of you could send a postcard or a letter with information on how to obtain an electronic or hard copy of the warrant, and what the cost savings would be there, based on quotes. And actually, that $500 I realized is just for the printing of the postcards. That quote was for $424. That doesn't include the postage, so I have to update that. But just to give you an idea, we did get a quote. Okay, just making notes as I think of things
That's
as
good.
we go here. This Article 26 needs to be worked on a bit. My understanding is that we are supposed to accept a specific chapter of Mass General Law for the collection of conservation and ZBA fees, and we have not done that. June has flagged this and brought it to my attention that this is something that needs to be created by town meeting. It will require some additional research, and I flagged it for Jeff. Article 27 again is one that's going to require a little more research as well. We talked about raising the asset limits for exemptions so that folks are able to qualify for veterans and senior exemptions with higher asset levels. That has not been voted on by the Board of Assessors, but the Select Board has talked about it when we talked about senior work off and things, when we talked about tax classification hearing and when the assessors came. So that would just be a conversation that would need to be had. It was on the list, so I threw it in there.
So this is only involves sort of assessors, and I just where we have like staffing to do this research to get it done in time to be in the mail
Linda.
in 30 days.
Yeah, I would talk to Linda. I think it could be really helpful for folks.
Yep.
It's
I
really
can
just-
tell you, Jason is actually sort of working on this. I told him I did not have time to, but Jason is sort of working on this to find out and make sure that we haven't already adopted 41C.5 and those types of things. I am not sure. I did tell him I didn't think we would be ready for that this time.
It can come off. It just was on the list.
Yeah. I would, at this version of the draft, I'd keep it here. It likely will come off the next time we look at this and realize we have 2 weeks to finish off all the wording, and there's just not time there. This would be one of those that I would definitely put on the things to remember when we do fall town meeting, because we can still do it then too, because it doesn't have a cost associated with it. It is an acceptance of law and some policy stuff. So
And then Article
Uh,
28 is the one zoning bylaw amendment that we have. It's
Yep.
a zoning amendment to accessory dwelling units. Article 29 is a placeholder in case we need an article related to down payment assistance for the housing trust. And
Yeah.
Article 30 is your standard election warrant article.
29, Lisa, do you have a sense if that's gonna come
I'm,
together?
it got complicated. The CPAC indicated that we could use the article that was for Jasifa, the housing coordinator, to ad
Yep.
hoc hire CMRPC to do the down payment program, because that is something that she would have worked on. So it
Mhm.
seemed to fit the sort of thing. It's unfortunately, we're not sure that we're going to be able to get that done, and there's a time limit on it. And then also, Tim had indicated that he might want to change it to indicate it that it's being used differently. I'm going to go look and see about potentially using the other pool of money that we have for this, rather than
Right.
go through trying to explain this to people at town meeting. But it should hold for now. I have to
Yep,
talk to
yep.
Housing Trust and
No.
figure out whether it can actually be pulled from that other one.
No, so 30 is not a bad number of articles. I think that's sort of doable. There's a couple that might come out. There's not a lot that I think are going to be half night long discussions. There's a dozen that look like they're as much administrative. Um, and I think, as you know, this document obviously is not in a mailable format, but it is not 200 hours of work away from mailable format either. So I think it's in good shape.
I think you're about 75 to 80% done. It's just polishing. All of the articles are in there. Some of the numbers need to be finalized, some of the language, but I really, this is not an easy document to put together, and to have something in this form by the end of February, you're in pretty good shape. And that was my goal, is to leave you in pretty good shape. So that's where you're at with that.
I think that takes us to board questions and liaison updates. Do you want to start, Lisa?
I'm in DC, so I really don't have a lot. I did want to say thank you so much to Kristen for everything
Yeah.
that you've done. We are going to miss you. Thank you for all the hard work that you put in. I know you've been killing yourself the last little bit here, so much appreciation.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, Rec hasn't met, Energy hasn't met, and I was remiss and didn't get to Concom last week. So I've got SWAT for updates, which I know you're all surprised at, because I usually blabber. So I'm done.
I just want to remind folks out there that papers are still available for town elections. They're due March 24th, whatever that Tuesday is, at 5 o'clock. Although papers have been pulled for some of them, doesn't mean you can't pull papers for Rice's. There's actually 2 people who have pulled papers for select board, and especially right now, I don't think anyone has pulled papers for either of the 2 positions on the Board of Assessors at this point, which is a 3-person board. Having 2 vacancies would be a problem that we would have to figure out how to solve. And so I'm hoping there are people out there who would consider running and assisting that office. And then, yes, Kristen, it has been great work. This is, for people who don't know, because we didn't say it sort of formally, this is Kristen's last meeting as town administrator. Tomorrow's your last day even. And it's been great having you as a town administrator. We wish you the best of luck in a sister CMRPC community. And probably that means that paths will still cross here and there.
It has been a true pleasure. This is my first town that I've worked in as a town administrator. I have learned a tremendous amount. I've done my best to, do you proud and do the best for the residents. And I really appreciate the opportunity. And I think we're leaving you in good hands. So I'm comfortable for you guys moving forward.
I think that sadly gives us to the point where we're normally excited about, but a motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
It will be a roll call vote. Hawkins, aye.
Stone Eye.
Waisaki, aye.